And we are live. Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to She Built It, Boss Lady Chronicles. I am Sharita Gaskin Solet. I'm your host. This is the show where we feature boss ladies who have built an amazing dream, who have overcome odds. And the reason that I do this show is that I want you, the average lady at home, to understand that you too are a boss lady and you too can build a dream. So if you are watching us live, please say hi in the comments. Talk to us. We want to know you are here. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. And if you have questions, just shoot them in the chat. We're happy to answer. And that's it. So I want to make a couple of announcements before we get started. One, the Boss Lady Dream Builders Facebook group is accepting new members. Um, Boss Lady Dream Builders is a professional development community for women who want more. And you may not even know what the more is, but if there's just something inside of you that says there's something more for me, there's something more that I am meant to be, then join Boss Lady Dream Builders. We'd be happy to have you there. So my guest tonight is a good friend, Dr. Hokehe Echo, and I'm going to find her bio. Okay, so Dr. Echo is a mom, board certified pediatrician. I tried to combine pediatrician and physician. Pediatrician, TEDx speaker, and CEO of Glow Pediatrics. Partners with parents of children with ADHD, autism, to address the root causes of their children's behavior so they can glow with health from the inside out. She is also CEO of Kids of Hope, a 501(c) organization sharing love, hope, and dignity with children in foster care. Now, one thing that she did not include in her bio, but that I happen to know about her, is that she's also an author. This is her book, Children's Love Letters. And this is really a special book. She actually goes through the alphabet and has a letter for an actual written letter from a child for each letter of the alphabet, with a lesson for the child and the parents for just how to communicate better and allow the kids to have a way to express themselves. So welcome, Dr. Echo. How are you?
Thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's an honor to be here. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am wonderful and very happy to have you here. So
Yes.
I usually start the same way each time. And so I want to ask you, were you born a boss lady or did you have to become a boss lady?
I became a boss lady.
Okay.
Yes, I was an introvert. Can
Okay,
believe
many
that.
layers of introvert. All right.
Yes, many layers of it. So introverted that I couldn't look people in the eye and talk to them. And then I would turn around and they were gone. And I was like, what just happened? So shy, I would like twirl around and not
Oh,
even
wow.
want to look at them. Yes, so that's right.
Okay. So you became a boss lady. So we'll have to talk about that a little bit. Tell me what it means to you when you hear the term boss lady. What does that mean to you?
Boss lady to me simply means a woman who is intentional about growing, about learning, about expanding her vision for herself and her family and her business, and one that is not stagnant. That's really what it means to me.
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. So I know that you've built probably several dreams. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? In particular, I know that you had a brain injury and you were told that you would not be a physician. So I kind of want the story to start wherever you think the story should start, but I definitely want to hear about that part.
Okay. Wonderful. So I decided I wanted to be a pediatrician, and the earliest I can remember was 5. A friend of mine, when I was growing up in Nigeria, she died because her parents didn't have the money to get a treatment for asthma for her.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
something as easy as that I mean, albuterol in the US, she died because of that. And I remember thinking I wanted to be a pediatrician to help other kids right? Be healthy. But then the funny thing is, I was so scared of hospitals. I mean, I was that kid you had to tie down when you go get shot. So
Oh, wow.
go figure, but that's what was in my head. So
Okay.
I so fast forward, got to college, came to the US at 16, started college, and then as a junior, 6 months within 6 months of each other, I had two car accidents, like literally back to back. So
Oh,
I was
wow.
discharged from physical therapy for the first one, and the next day I had the second one.
Oh,
I was back
no.
in therapy on Monday, and they were like, "Didn't we just discharge you on Friday?" Well, like, yeah, I had one on Saturday. Yeah, so yeah. After and in both of them, I hit my head on the steering wheel both times. So I started not to do well in school. Started having headaches. And then I started being depressed as well. So my parents were really worried and took me to see a neuropsychologist who he did all his testing, and then he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said I've wanted to be a pediatrician since I was 5. Then he said to me, "You will never go to medical school. I highly suggest you go look for something else to do. You are only average." He's like, "In fact, you're less than average. I really
Oh,
suggest
wow.
you go find something else to do." And of course, I believed him because he was the doctor, right?
Sure.
Totally. And proceeded to completely fail out of that semester of college. I went from the A student to the flat out F student and
Wow.
had to sit out that semester. But my
You know, I,
parents,
I want to stop you 1 second because that just underscores how important the things that we say to young people in particular
yes,
are. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where
right,
if you have an expectation that someone will do well and you tell them that they are above average and that they can do well, then they rise to the occasion. But
right.
conversely, if you tell them that they can't do something, they kind of fall to that to that
Yes,
level also.
yeah. Yes, you're absolutely. And thank you for pointing that out because it's so critical, the words we say, and to our kids, and actually even to anyone. But yes, definitely to the young minds that are
Yes.
still dreaming of the dreams that they have.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I was depressed. I was out of school. I was scared even to drive. I was just a mess. But I thank God for God and for my parents. So my parents are Nigerian, of course, both PhDs, and they were like, absolutely not. It doesn't matter what he said. You're going back to school, and you are a doctor.
Well, thank goodness, right? Thank God that they had that attitude.
Right. And they're like, nope, doesn't matter. Who's he anyways? So so this is me against them, but and me still believing him. But the very next semester they hauled me back off to college and I had to go I got back to college. And of course it wasn't easy because of course I was dealing with my mindset, which was I'm a failure, I can't do this, and all of that. But they kept saying it, they wouldn't let up, which again is really important. I mean, children, anyone, they just need one person in
Yeah, to
their
believe
corner
in
who
you.
will tell them that they can do something. And so, yeah, my challenge to everyone is let's be that one person for someone, right? But so yeah, I went back to school. It was a struggle, but I went back and I made it. But then I was afraid to apply to med school. I started applying to everything but med school because I had it in my head I couldn't do it still, even though I was able to do well. I applied to nursing, and not that there's anything wrong with that. Applied to different things, but my sister just sat me down like, "Lady, you better apply to med school." I don't know what you're doing. So again, I had intervention there, and I applied, and I got in. And yes, and I am now a pediatrician despite all odds and despite how hard it was. And like I say, med school is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Yes, absolutely. And
Literally.
probably will ever do in your life, right? Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I made it. Yes. And I'm so thankful to God and my family for pushing me.
So at what point did things kind of turn around in your mind, or did you just have to eventually see enough evidence? I mean, clearly, if you had the grades to be able to get into medical school, you were performing at a high level.
Right.
And then once you got there, you're a doctor today, so you made it through. So clearly somewhere along the way, you had enough evidence to show that you could achieve this goal.
Yes. So where the shift happened was when I got back to school, and despite the struggle of like my memory and all of that, I was able to find ways around it and study, and I started seeing the grades improving, but also my depression was under control too. I was initially really depressed and couldn't even see myself that way, but once I started listening to the positive words and started saying them about myself, that's when things started to turn around, literally. Because I mean, even in the future, I don't remember what test I was taking. I didn't pass it because I started panicking in the test, like, oh my God, I can't do this. And I flat out failed it. But I remember the next time I went to take it, I started saying to myself, I've passed it. I have passed it before I even took the test, and I
Yeah.
did pass it. So it was definitely a combination of hearing that I could and also starting to believe that I could. And that's when things turned around. Yeah.
Okay. And so tell us about today. So you go from, being told that you will never be a pediatrician, that you need to choose something else, to overcoming that, to
Right.
where we are today. Tell us about today.
So today I am the happy brain pediatrician. And the reason I want to talk about that for a little bit is, you know, I kind of buried the whole story about me having that brain injury and all of the stress I went through. The mind sometimes can block off memories.
Yeah.
I didn't remember it for a long time. And then I saw something pop up on my Facebook page about um brain health coaching by Dr. Amen. And that's when it came
Ah,
back.
uh-huh.
I was like, oh wait, I have a brain story too. Oh, my visitor is here. I have a brain story too. And that's when I was like, oh, wait a second. Talk about come
Hi,
say hi. I
visitor.
just want to say hi. So that's when yeah, that's my youngest. So that's when I remembered my story and I took ownership of it. And
Hmm.
then I was like, oh wait, there's all these kids that are struggling because of things that have happened to their brain and their behavior, and the things that they can't do. They are told, oh, you have this diagnosis, ADHD, therefore that's it. You're going
Right.
to spend the rest of your life on meds, and you can't compare to your kid, your peers, or even children with autism. Okay, that's it. I mean, it's brain based, so that's it. And so that's really what influenced my trying to learn as much as I can, as I could, about the brain. I'm not a neurologist, but really I've done all these additional courses on just trying to learn how to teach kids about how to fall in love with the health of their brains. And that was really the theme of my TEDx as well. Let's teach our kids how to fall in love with the health of their brain, and a different way of treating ADHD is not just about medication, which I'm not against medicine, but then there's the environment, there's what they eat,
Sure.
there's their sleep. I mean, if you don't sleep, for anybody, your behavior will be off.
Right.
So there's all these things that we can address,
We're all about that. Right.
right? We all know. There's all these things we can address, even if we're doing medication together. But then the thing with medication is it wears off, then what? We're still back to baseline. So the way I focus on treating kids, and that's with ADHD or autism or even undiagnosed, let's talk about what's the underlying baseline. What can we adjust? What can we improve so that the child as a whole will do well and will, like I like to say, glow with health from the inside out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So when you say brain health, because that's not a term we hear very much.
Okay.
We might talk about bone health, we might talk about cardiovascular health, but we don't talk about brain health very much. So what do you mean when you say that?
What I mean by brain health is the organ itself. How can we keep that organ, right? Because that's what drives us. It's our generator, for lack of a better word, right? How can we keep the actual organ healthy? And the way
Yeah.
to keep the actual organ, the brain, healthy is by addressing what we eat, because what we eat definitely finds its way to our brain. It's by addressing the sleep, because our brain needs the most sleep. It's like what does the brain physically need? That's what I'm really talking about when I say brain health, because it affects every single part of our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that we underestimate. I actually was listening to a podcast of maybe a couple of weeks ago, and the person there actually talked about brain health. And they talked about it, I think it was in respect to depression and things like that, but just that if we do things to improve our overall brain health in general, that's far more effective than a lot of the medications that we're using to treat things. And
Well,
so, and just to bring it all back to the whole boss lady thing, if your brain is not healthy, you can't thrive. And being a boss lady is all about thriving. It's
yes.
not just surviving, it's not just getting by, it's absolutely thriving and evolving into um more of yourself, your authentic self, but the person you were created to be. And it's pretty difficult to do that if your brain isn't healthy. Actually, if all of you isn't healthy.
It's actually impossible to do that. Because it's like fits and starts, but you never really get traction, and you never really become all of who God made you to be if you yourself are not healthy. Because how can you even help anybody if you're not healthy yourself? And that's what I always stress with my parents. And because I look at pediatrics as a whole family, it's like from a whole family lens. How can mommies and daddies be healthier so that they can actually teach being healthy to their kids? Because I
Right.
can spend all day talking about the kids, but if the parents are not healthy, it's like actually a waste of
Right.
my time.
Right. That's
So,
true.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, it's the whole environment. The
Mhm.
kids are at school, they're at home, they're with the pediatrician, what, a few minutes, a couple of times a year at best.
Right.
Right. So it's pretty hard to have that kind of impact without involving the parents. So tell me, I mentioned your book, and I think this is such a wonderful tool that parents can use to help with communication with their kids.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was your inspiration for the book, and how do you want people to use it?
Yes, thank you for that. My inspiration for the book was my three kids. Trying to figure out, they're so different, and how to take care of them. And I found myself so full of mom guilt, because I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm working this job and running around trying to take care of them. And sometimes I'm raising my voice. I'm just half the time not present because I can't even handle my own self. Right.
Yeah,
And so as I started to get my life under control, I found, and as I read more books, and as I hung out with more boss lady type people like you, I decided, hey, I started playing around with it, right, with the ideas. And then I was like, oh wait, I can. That's why I had the idea to use the alphabet, and for each letter of the alphabet, talk about the way a child spells love. Because I kept hearing, oh yeah, children spell love as time. And then for us, the busy moms, like, okay, so definitely we are not doing a great job at
right.
all, because it seems like we don't have enough time. Our kids already spend most of their day somewhere
Right.
else with
Somebody
somebody
else.
else.
Right. Yeah.
So what's the point? So I really had fun trying to figure out what each letter would
Yeah.
mean, like, right, for a child. And so that's how I came up with it. And to answer your question of how parents should use it, I don't want you to read through it in one day. And that's why I put in spaces for
For the
you to
notes and
write
everything. Yeah.
notes yourself, because and it's something I want you to revisit, because I revisit mine. And I ask myself, okay, so did I do a good job in terms of, like, for example, I just opened up Love is Forgiving, right? On the days when I am not as forgiving, I come back and I'm like, okay, so, and we also talk about a redo. How can I redo this? And I've grown to the point where I can ask the kids, mommy didn't do this. Mommy said she was going to do this. And, oh, like, for example, yelling. Mommy said she wouldn't yell, and then she raised her voice. Please forgive me. Right. And because I want to teach them that I make mistakes, and that I can own them, and that it's okay for them to own it. Right. And it doesn't by any means mean I let my children like do whatever they want. Not at
Sure.
all. There's
Sure.
discipline, but within reason, because I want them to grow up to be people who can forgive. I have seen what forgiveness can do. Forgiveness can rob you of your everything you love.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
If you hold on to unforgiveness, first of all, it will kill you on the inside, literally, and
Right.
then of course that's what will come out of you, and then it will affect everybody around you. So, I for that topic especially, I want to teach them that they can ask for forgiveness, and it's okay to do that, and make an effort to do something different. And so, yeah, that's how I want parents to use it as an ongoing guide and reflection of where they are, where the journey is taking them, how they can do better, how they can teach it to their kids as well. Because isn't that what life is? We as parents, that's
Yeah.
what parenting is about, right? For us to infuse our kids with all the skills and the goodness that they need to be the best version of themselves. And so, yeah,
Yeah, because they're our legacy, right?
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that because we're launching them off into a world that we won't see,
Yep.
and they're influencing generations after us.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
want to go back a little bit because you said that you were an introverted introvert who would not even look people in the eye. So you kind of skimmed over how you get from an introverted introvert who doesn't look people in the eye to a TEDx speaker and an author. So you have to back up and explain to us how, because you said you were not born a boss lady. So tell us what, by kind of some of the skills that you acquired, the mindsets that that you needed to adopt in order to become the woman you are today.
Yes. Okay. So, um, I still have traits of it left, and I'm still a work in progress. Let me say that.
Okay.
But what happened was like what you said in the beginning of the podcast about if you're a mom or a woman and you want more and you're not even sure what the more is. That happened to me. So I'd been a pediatrician for about 8 years, and I was like, there has to be more, right, than this. And I couldn't
Right.
quite place my finger on it. But what happened was I started looking, and then I started finding that, and I started finding that there are all these people doing amazing things. I don't know. Before then, I guess I kind of lived in a bubble.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just,
Well, I mean,
oh,
you find what you're looking for, right? So
right,
if you're saying I want more, then your eyes start to look for the more, or the people who
exactly,
have the more or are doing the more.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I started finding the more, and then I found that and then I'll have this urge to just say hi to them. And I would say hi, and the next thing we would connect. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making friends. Like, but not even the usual friends I would have around. I was making friends like of CEOs. I'm like, oh, so I can just say hi, and that's it. And the more I
Right.
said hi, and the more I hung out, and then I started talking with them more, and then I started reading some books, and I was like, oh, and I was like, I tried it. I remember my first live on Facebook. Oh my goodness. My kids were there. I talked for, I don't even know what I said. And I ran off and I literally took off running because I was just like, what just happened? Oh my God. Did I just do that on oh Lord, in front of everybody? Oh goodness. So it was born out of I followed my heart. My heart said there's more to you, right? And I kept hearing, like my mom would say, you're a good writer. And I'm like, I've never written anything. What are you talking about? And so then now the book is born, right? It's because I know, like when you asked that question of was I born, and I know I said no, but really apparently you are born with the gifts inside
Okay,
of
so
you.
I asked that question, but to be perfectly honest with you, I believe that everything we need to be a boss is
Inside of
already inside of us. You're
yes,
absolutely right. We're born with
right,
it. It's a matter of us discovering it and reconnecting with
right,
it.
right, exactly. And that's what happened to me. I discovered that I could speak without falling on my face. I discovered that I liked talking to people, and now I have a podcast where I just have conversations with people. I discovered that I could write, and I wrote. So, but I'm truly grateful for finding the right people. I mean, I didn't always find the right people, but for even the awareness that okay, no, that person is not a good fit for me. Let me make a pivot and go in this direction, because I think that's so important that we don't get stuck where we start, that we
Right.
continue to grow and continue to search for all of what's inside of us. Yeah. So,
So what's the dream right now? Because it sounds, you said we continue to search. So that means we don't stop dreaming, right?
right.
So at this point we're, you've done the TEDx, you've written the book, you're helping children with autism and ADHD and children in foster care. What's the dream now?
So the dream is to continue to build my practice, to build the nonprofits in that's in transition. So that too is like, okay, I'm in dream phase with that again, like as to the next direction to go with that. But to continue to build my practice around my life and not the other way around. Not I build my life around work,
Sure,
right? I
sure.
want to build work around my life and be more flexible and present for the kids. So I started my practice last year, so it's still in its infancy. And so I am learning every day. I am testing things out and making pivots and all of that. So the dream right now for me is just to keep going and not to give up when the challenges show up, and see how big I can grow this. Because in my head, my vision is a global practice.
Hmm.
I will get there because there's so many children. There's so millions of kids who need help. And I'm not saying I'm going to help every single person, but then that's why there is live streaming. That's why there's podcasting, that
Sure. Right.
and all of that. So, yeah. So, I am encouraging myself to keep dreaming big dreams and see where they go, where it leads me to. So, yeah.
Right. So now you said there's, millions of children, but you can, what did we used to say in school? Each one teach one,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So, it's when once you start spreading your message around, as far as, increasing the brain health of children and helping them to fall in love with their brains just the way they are, then other people will catch on, and it can have a global impact just the same.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I believe it. So,
So let's start this whole global thing. If people are interested, if people are interested in working with you, how can they do that?
okay, wonderful. So, yes, they can reach out to me on my website, which is glowpediatrics.com.
Where's your
Um,
practice? Where are you in the world?
okay, I am located in Lawton, Oklahoma right now, but I have a virtual practice, so I can see kids virtually. So we're not defined by location per se. But in terms of like seeing me for one-on-one care, that would be for people in Oklahoma. But I do also have a group program for parents where I empower them to be able to take care of their kids with ADHD and autism by giving them practical strategies to help them. So that one is open to everybody worldwide. Come on in. And the information for that's also on my website, or you can call 405-871-5807. That's my office number. We'll be happy to help you that way as well. So
Okay, and then if we want to acquire this book, how do we do that?
yes, so the book is on Amazon. There's also a very helpful link on my website. If you go to my website, it's right there. It says book, so you don't have to search on Amazon, but if you go to Amazon, you'll find it as well. So it's on there. And my podcast is on Apple, Spotify, and really anywhere you listen to podcasts. That's Brain Power with Dr. Echo.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, just what one piece of advice would you give to an aspiring boss lady? Someone who maybe is still that introverted introvert who is scared to look people in the eye and says, "Okay, I see Dr. Echo, but she said they told her she would never be a pediatrician, but I don't know. She still probably has something that I don't have." What would you say to her?
I would remind her what you said, which is that you have everything you need on the inside of you. And that's exactly what I've found. And that there is nothing you can do if you put your mind to it, really. because I had to decide that I was going to succeed and I was going to go to med school. And that's why really I went to med school. It was because I decided. So make the decision. There'll be challenges, yes, but make the decision that despite the challenges, you're going to hold on to your dream and you're going to see it through and it'll come. Yes.
Excellent. I agree 300%. You know, I was at actually my last retreat. I one of the last things I told the ladies was I'm of the mind that the only reason we don't achieve our dreams or our goals is because we stop trying,
Mhm.
because we give up, not because we're not capable. Because we just have to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and eventually it will come.
Yes.
So thank you very much for sharing with us this evening. It's been my pleasure to have you. Thank you guys for saying hello in the comments. Like I said, if you're watching the replay, please hashtag replay. Thank you for joining us. We'll have another episode, another boss lady that we'll be featuring next week. Again, I invite you to the Boss Lady Dream Builders Facebook group where we are up leveling in community. So, those things that we talked about that are buried inside of you, we're doing things in that group to try to bring those things out so that we can become the women that we were created to be. And we would love to have you with us. This month, we're actually we're doing a challenge every month. I announced yesterday that the challenge for this month is the morning routine challenge. And so we're looking at our morning routines, or establishing a morning routine that will lead to personal development and growth. So, again, we would love to have you, Boss Lady Dream Builders. And we'll see you next week. Take care. Have a good night. Thank you again, Dr. Echo. Lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.